Okay, everybody, I'm calling the meeting to order. Sorry, Bill. Good evening, everybody. It's August 14th. It's the town of Rhinebeck, regular town board meeting. Would everybody please join us for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, I need a motion and a second to approve our prior minutes of July 5th and July 10th.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Thanks, Alan. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Moves unanimously. We will be having a public presentation on September 14th at 6 p.m. here in Town Hall. It's the patterns of progress findings for the joint Rhinebeck and Red Hook community needs assessment. So I believe it will be recorded as well, but join us and engage. Also, we need volunteers. We have a Conservation Advisory Board without a quorum, so we desperately need members to join the Conservation Advisory Board, and we're looking for another member for the Zoning Board of Appeals, and I believe the Planning Board. I think that's it. Anybody else have anything? I think we have John Wexler here who would like to be heard at the top of the meeting. Come on up, John.
On behalf of about 30 swimmers so far, give or take, this summer at 7:30 this morning and most other mornings at the town pool, we decided around now, because the season will come to an end pretty soon, in 2 or 3 weeks, to give, and it's all listed in here, the names of the town board, the town recreation commission, the lifeguards, the senior staff for recreation, and maybe a few others. So there's lots of names in here, and there's lots of signatures, and the point is that this is better than nothing. Somehow this was created maybe by the recreation committee. I don't know the history in the town board. It cost somebody some money. I estimate there's been 30, 35 different people. There's about 5 or 10 regulars, and it's absolutely wonderful. In brief, the comparison is to years past, to swim between 12 and 1, even though one has to wake up. The sun is much, much weaker at 7:30, and it led for the first 6 weeks right into the swim team, which led into the camp and so forth. So we seemingly have not bothered anybody. In fact, I think it's given a help to the day as the staff gets the pool ready, if there's any loose ends, and we all, can help a little bit if needed. So thank you very much. There's a souvenir, and hopefully the forces that be will decide to continue with this program next summer.
Thank you. That's very, very kind, and I'm glad it's working out. We heard from many people, our residents, who were traveling to Red Hook to swim in the morning, and so Carrie and I and the town board discussed it and decided that we could afford to hire lifeguards for an extra hour and have the same thing here in Rhinebeck, and I'm glad it's worked out.
And it's not only helped us, actually, I think. I mean, you can talk to the staff. I think it's good for the lifeguards, for, things move along. There's a fair amount of organization involved. And as far as I'm concerned, the people who swim are just wonderful. And there seems to be different kinds of swimmers, not to go into now. But it's not like the swimmers aren't very appreciative, even if some of them occasionally have not come from, here. They're visiting their parents, or they're, they just, are coming for a couple of weeks or some time, and they just happen to be swimmers. There's some very good world-class swimmers
Well,
around.
we're happy it's working out, and our aim is to have whatever's going on in our park work for,
We try to make people happy.
yeah.
We try.
Well, this was
This was a win, I guess. Thank
a
you.
win.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Doesn't always work, but we do care.
Oh, Every
That was
once in a
sweet.
while.
Okay, I need a motion for Resolution 2023-182 for our tax certiorari settlement with Marks.
Motion, we held this over from last time. Just 'cause
I
we
need
know
a
how-
second.
Second.
We held this over from last time because we know how to love these.
What do you mean, how I love them?
We just thought, I think Chauncey commented that we just wanted to review on it because often.
Don't you guys call the assessor, or no?
No, I looked at it myself, yeah, I didn't call the assessor. but
Okay.
I looked at it myself.
So I usually call the assessor and our certiorari attorney for each one and just go over it. Both of these, I believe, have gone, Marks is for a parcel of land on Morton Road, and Ostro is for a new house in the village on, behind, what's that road called? Locust Grove. Both of these have been going on for 3 years. Our comps, we had an appraiser, and they've reached a settlement, and because they're 3-year look-backs, they will look at them again next year when we have more comps for things that have sold for much higher. So I am satisfied. Does that answer your? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And a motion for 2023-183.
Motion.
Okay, second.
Second.
I think I answered that with the other one.
Yes,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. And I mean, honestly, we have one of the best assessors in the state. Jennifer Mund does a terrific job. Okay. I'm going to make a motion for 2023-195. May I have a second?
Second.
This is for the little free library on Town Hall, and I don't know, you might have a little picture there. It was generously conceived of by our clerk and our deputy clerk, and it was built by resident, my husband, Jim Stevenson, and it's, if you guys agree, it's going to be registered for $40 and go outside of Town Hall with English and
Is it there
Spanish
forever?
language books.
Is it there forever? Is it seasonal or?
It's going to live out there.
Cool.
It's got a plexiglass front, and you drop off books, and you take books, and the stewards are going to be our town clerk and our deputy clerk.
There's one in Rhine Cliff.
It's one all out, yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have one in Town Hall with English and Spanish books.
Great.
So I think we just need to amend this, that another whereas, that the stewards will be our clerk and our deputy clerk, Joan. You need that for the, you need a steward for the registration. And it's a really cool website, go on. So it'll be nice to see people coming up and getting books. Any other questions or concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okey dokey. I need a motion for 2023-196, the Vandenberg Cove Sewer District transfer.
Motion.
Thanks, Chauncey. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alan. Warren, you want to say anything about this? Has this closed the deal?
No, this is pursuant to a intermunicipal agreement that we signed, town signed with
Hyde Park.
Dutchess County Wastewater Authority back in 2016, where there was a hiatus in the progress, and we pushed them along, so we're continuing the finalization of the transfer in accordance with that agreement. And one of the steps is that we have to convey the real property within the district to DCWWA, and that's what the resolution is, and the assets that we're transferring are listed in the resolution.
What's the
And
next
the
step
bills.
after this?
The next step, I have to get to them a list of all the easements that we have. I think we've collected all of them. Joe has helped me with that. And then we're going to probably schedule a closing, but there's lots of documentation that has to, it's complicated. But hopefully within the next few months, we'll finalize the process.
And then Shelley will throw a party for everyone who helped get this done.
So if you could sign the bill of sale and get that to me so I could forward it on to the
Will
DCWWA's
do.
attorney.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. 2023-197, hiring cemetery groundskeeper / town hall cleaner.
Motion.
Thanks. May I have a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moves unanimously. Thank you. 2023-199, please. I don't know, 2023-198, recreation hire changes. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks, Alan. A second?
Second.
Thanks, Josh. Any questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. 2023-199, Village of Rhinebeck EV event at the recreation parking lot. May I have a motion?
Motion.
May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks. This has all been cleared with Carrie, and there are no other...
Running it.
What?
Who's running it? It's the CSC task force.
I don't know what you mean by Rhiney.
Well, it's, who's running it?
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Running it. Vanessa and the
Okay.
CS and the Community Climate
Okay.
Smart Community
Yeah.
Task Force. No conflicts, so we're fine.
Should we be specifying the area, the location, the amount of space they can occupy?
Carrie's
Is it-
working with them. I think it's fine.
Do we have a history of doing this with them? I think I
Yeah,
saw that.
yeah.
Okay.
We're fine. It's Vanessa, it's the village. So.
Oh, right,
It's
okay.
It's not, it's just
Not
our
strangers.
Yeah,
neighbors across the
foreigners.
street who co-own the park with us, so we'll be fine. Thanks. Did we vote?
No.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So moves unanimously. Thank you. 2023-200, urging Governor Hochul to sign the Save the Hudson legislation. I'll make a motion. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Chance. This is the whole Holtec debacle that we've already passed numerous resolutions against, and now we're urging Governor Hochul to oppose the release of the water from Indian Point into the Hudson. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Okay, this is the one we've all been waiting for. 2023-201, Workforce Housing Lead Agency. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Thanks, Chauncey, and may I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Alan. Take it away, Warren.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah.
As you know, the Community Realty Group LLC has made an application to the town of Rhinebeck for a proposed 80-unit multifamily affordable housing project, including all the buildings and associated infrastructure pursuant to Article 5, Section 125-64.4, and Article 12, 125-99 sec of the town code on a 23-acre parcel of land located at Rhinecliff Road in the town of Rhinebeck, New York, having tax parcel number, I'll give you the last digits, 223336. And we are at a stage in that application process where we need to commence the environmental review of the project, which should be commenced and finished at the earliest possible stage of the project. We have already finished reviewing the application and the sketch plan, and the town board has found that it's acceptable to the point of starting the seeker process, in which a lot of the comments that we received at the initial public hearing or public informational meeting and comments we received from the various boards hopefully will be answered and dealt with during the seeker review process. So we just can't determine that we are the lead agency. The lead agency will be determined among the involved agencies for the project, as that term is defined in the Environmental Quality Review Act. So the first step in this process would be to pass a resolution indicating the town board's intent to establish itself as lead agency. I have prepared that resolution, and I prepared a letter which needs to be sent to each involved agency. Sent that to our town clerk, and I provided our town clerk with a list of all the involved agencies.
Could you just read the involved agencies for the public?
Pardon?
Would you
Involved agency is an agency that has a permitting authority.
just enumerate them for us?
The list.
Wait a second, I'll give you all the information that you need. An involved agency is an agency which has permitting authority over the application. The list of involved agencies are as follows. Of course, the town board, the town planning board, the town highway department, the village board, county department of planning, county department of behavioral and community health department, New York DEC Region 3, New York DOT Region 8, the New York State Housing and Community Development Agency, and the Office of Parks, Recreation and Historic Preservation, and the USACE, which is the New York District Western Permit Section, North Atlantic Division, which is located in Brooklyn, New York. So those agencies will all receive a notice of our intent to assume lead agency status. Each agency will have 30 days from the date of the letter that goes out from our town clerk's office to notify us whether they feel they're more appropriate to act as lead agency for the review of this project. If no other agencies notify us that they wish to assume lead agency established, then we will become the lead agency for the environmental review of this project. In my experience, the only other agency that will usually weigh in on this in terms of wanting to be the agency would be the planning board. So we don't know if the planning board would be interested in assuming that role. If they don't, then the town board will have to assume
Well,
that role.
we do know.
Pardon?
They're not interested.
Well,
I mean, they could
we
make
have to
the
send them a
formal-
formal
yeah.
notice, and then
What-
they notify us.
So what if 2 people are interested, then who decides?
Well, it's the agency that has the most permitting authority and has the most capability of reviewing it. If we can't resolve that if the planning board decides that they want to be lead agency, if we can't resolve that by agreement with the planning board, then it would go up to DEC to determine which agency should be lead agency.
I guess for the public, I do want everyone to know we did reach out to the planning board, and they do not want to take this on.
Well, we'll have to wait till we get
If-
official
if
notice from the
they-
planning board.
You know, we'd love for them to take it on, and if they don't want to take it on, we will take it on. But we did offer it to them. So
Right.
we're doing this in anticipation. I think you can watch their last meeting, and they were pretty vocal about not wanting to take it on.
Good.
So we let them know that we would seek it in light of them
Right.
not saying that they didn't want to. If they do want to, that's great.
So if we do become lead agency, then the town board will decide how it wants to proceed, in what order, and what consultants it will be using. It'll probably be the same consultants as would normally be used by the planning board, except I'm the attorney for the town board and the planning board. And we would start the process, which may or may not involve a public hearing just on the environmental issues. We're not required to have a public hearing on the environmental issues, but very often the lead agency does that. So it's quite possible that we will have that and get the input from the public.
Thank you. So it's 30 days from the date of our letter.
The date the letter goes out. Well, I'm
So-
assuming they'll all be mailed on the same day.
Joan
So there's no
Joan probably has
confusion.
them ready to go. So I guess, yeah, so we couldn't even start this until
We can't do anything
September.
more until we establish lead agency at this point.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Any other questions?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thanks, Warren.
Okay.
You had, oh no, you can stay for noise ordinance?
I can stay for the noise ordinance.
Why not? Let me just finish this. 2023-202, I'll make a motion for the preliminary accounts payable abstracts. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Josh. Any questions, comments, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Passes unanimously. I'll make a motion for 2023-203, our capital projects abstracts. May I have a second?
Second.
Thanks. Any comments, questions, concerns? All in favor? Aye. Any against? Passes unanimously. 2023-204, our budget transfers and amendments.
Motion.
Thanks, John.
Second.
Good. Any comments, questions, concerns? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any
Aye.
opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to go to discussions first, and then we'll go to new business. We have in here a noise ordinance. We've been going back and forth about noise ordinances, and this is something that our attorney suggested we look at. It takes decibels out of it. It makes it, in his opinion, and I agree, a lot easier to enforce. So I don't know if you guys have looked at this, but we can certainly jiggle around the times on it. We could limit it to the historic hamlet of Rhinecliff if we wanted to, since that seems to be where a lot of the issues are coming from. Or we could make it town-wide. I didn't know if you had any, it's just sort of takes the gray area of decibel readings out of it.
Is this augment any existing or add to any existing laws that we have related to noises? Or
Yeah, I was just going to clarify my advice to the board on this. I'm just looking for the ordinance that I sent you. Where is that in this?
It's 13.
Okay, 13. Okay. So actually, I think that our ordinance is pretty good. It requires some tweaking. I think we should leave the decibel limits in it, but also add a provision similar to what I had drafted for the town of Northeast, which will state that no person shall cause, suffer, allow, or permit to be made unreasonable noise. And for purposes of this chapter, unreasonable noise is any disturbing, excessive, or offensive sound that disturbs a reasonable person of normal sensitivities. And the reason I selected that definition is that that has been upheld by the Court of Appeals for the state of New York as being a reasonable standard for enforcement. It's not unconstitutionally vague, and a lot of court cases have followed that. So if we could add that to the statute and keep the decibels, so that in certain cases we might rely on a decibel reading to enforce the law ordinance, and tweak the statute so that we add a few definitions that are not in our law, which I think should be in the law, I think we can come to terms on an acceptable amendment to the noise ordinance.
So this is an amendment?
It'll be just an amendment. We'll keep the bulk of what we have in the law. It was expressed by the former acting zoning enforcement officer that the decibel limits were too restrictive. But I think we should have an objective standard that we can place in the law with the decibel readings, but the subjective standard has been upheld by the court, and it's much easier for the police to enforce on a day-to-day basis than having to get noise meters. I mean, there might be certain projects that will require noise reading. So I could work with Jim to amend the law very simply by adding some language and definitions.
Yeah.
I think we're there.
So it's like a belt and suspenders approach, you do the objective and then subjective.
Yeah, we have both objective and subjective standards in the law, and we can apply the one that's, most appropriate to the circumstances. And we should have a definition of those standards, which I actually found that I liked from the town of Greenberg. I can pass this on to you. There are several definitions in the town of Greenberg's law, which I found to be very good, and a definition of unreasonable intrusive noise, which we could add to the statute to give some guidance to to whoever's enforcing it, so I'll just pass this down so you have that.
Oh, we can give it to Jim. Oh,
Well, I'll do it with Jim, yeah, just pass it
So-
down, and I'll provide that to Jim, and I think
No,
we can have
Joni,
something
yeah.
for you by the next meeting.
I spoke to Sergeant Dunn about the village standard, which is really the subjective one, that's no unreasonable noise, et cetera, et cetera. And he says it's enforceable. And
Yeah, it is.
He's been enforcing it and so on and so forth. And they have access to a DB meter.
If we need a DV, that gets complicated, trying to, by the time you measure it and figure out the length of time, it's not always appropriate, but if,
I mean, I have a DB meter in my watch, for God's sake.
yeah, you
Yeah,
do.
but what
Then we'll send you
frequency
out.
does it bring? Is it
This is DBA.
We can do both, but there's actually, in order to enforce it, if you get to a court of law, it has to be a certain protocol and time period that
Sure.
you measure it, that it becomes burdensome for the police.
you know, the other issue is we just don't have enforcement. We don't
Yeah, we don't have our own police
We don't
force.
have 24/7 enforcement. We do not have the labor of our zoning enforcement officer is part-time. He cannot be running around during the day enforcing leaf blowers. And because of the shortage of labor in the village police, we don't have our 16 shifts a month. The state police will not enforce our local laws.
Yeah.
And the sheriff will not enforce our local laws unless we have contracted them for additional
Gotcha.
shifts.
Well, this seems to me the first time to actually bring something together that,
Makes a little bit more sense.
It makes a lot more sense, and I think it's
Can we
clearly,
tweak-
legally
Can we
enforceable.
tweak the times a little bit, make it a little
Yeah.
earlier and a little later and,
Yeah, I looked at the times, it was very confusing. Greenberg has just one set of time, they don't have what we have, so we may modify that to make it simpler.
what does Greenberg have?
If you look, I just gave,
Oh,
So Jim Levy updated the DB levels of the existing law,
yeah, I think he did.
so we're going to go with those as well.
I'm going to talk to him about it, I'm not sure that we want to change those unless they're entirely unreasonable.
They are unreasonable.
Yeah, they probably are too unreasonable. But the major complaint we've had that's inspired all this has been with somebody in
Rhinecliff.
in the hamlet of Rhinecliff,
Yeah.
operating a leaf blower continuously
Second to last
at a
page.
reasonable time. The added language would allow us to enforce
Right.
without doing a decibel reading against that property owner.
also in Greenberg, here it says the operation of gasoline-powered lawn mowers, leaf blowers, and/or other gasoline-powered lawn or garden equipment or construction tools between the hours of 8 PM and 8 AM, or any week before 9. All right, we need to look at this.
I think we already have that. those-
yeah, that has to exist somewhere.
Well, this is operation of gas-powered leaf and garden blowers is prohibited from May 1 through October 1 of each year.
Yeah,
We
I
may
don't know if
wanna-
we want to do that.
We may want to strengthen that.
Yeah, I'm not sure we want to do that. I think what we want to do is control people who are out there just continually
Well, leaf
making
blowers
noise.
are bad for the environment. You
Yeah.
know, you're supposed to leave leaves on the ground and
Yeah, but you-
compost them in.
People need them to take
They
care of
can-
their property.
they
I've
can
got
rake.
one.
You can rake May through October.
No, I don't know.
I know.
Well, let's see what happens, because if we run it up the flagpole and have a public hearing, I imagine you'll get some input
Oh,
from the
probably.
public. So let's see what the public says.
I'm sure we will.
So we should be able to start that next meeting.
I'll have it for you for the next meeting. Yeah.
In advance, because I'd like to look at all the times and I would like to simplify it, and I do
I'll
like.
take a look at that.
I
with
do,
you.
I don't know how you guys feel, I do like banning leaf blowers and garden blowers May 1 through October 1. Think about it.
How do I get the snow off my driveway? It's just up to them.
May 1, October
Yeah,
1.
I know, those
Leaf
freaking-
blower.
Oh, May 1, sorry, I had it reversed, October.
Think about it.
I'll put it in there if you want.
I had a guy blowing leaves.
Yeah,
on my
just-
I think you're going to
Eric,
get pushed back
This
on it.
afternoon.
Do you, how do you feel about it? Do you want to,
I don't know.
you want to think on it?
Thank you.
You can get an electric one for May through October. It's like you cut your lawn or you can go out, I sweep my steps.
So it's
and
like
I'm
a
on-
quiver.
I'm on 12 acres.
You have to have a quiver of leaf blowers based on the situation.
Just think about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think using them for a short period of time is not terribly obnoxious. but when it becomes excessive, I think this added language would help the police in enforcing
Well,
it.
you've had, it's something, it's explicit in what you gave us from Greenberg, and that's why I'm pulling the board. I mean, I think it's an overstep of local government to ban these things. I'd like to see the state take a lead on it, but we do need to deal with some residents who are, having a hard time.
That's all I have. Do you want me to stay for public comment? I don't know if there's
Any questions, any new business before the town board?
I don't have any.
Any questions, comments, concerns,
About anything
issues?
on the agenda or just about leaf blowers?
I'm sorry?
About anything on the agenda?
Anything,
Oh,
Sue,
good.
Anything.
Yes.
anything.
Okay, I do have a question.
Just blow it right past.
We don't want to sweep anything under. Oh,
Okay, once again.
Aye.
First of all, my name is Sue Hartshorn. I live in the town of Rhinebeck. I just want to thank you all for moving forward by passing the resolution of intent to become a lead agency. I think that today's date is August the 14th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe the next September board meeting is probably around September the 18th.
yes.
And I'm wondering if there is a 30-day limit, which I think is what I heard, a 30-day limit of the return of these letters that Warren has put together. Is it possible that something might be on the September 18th agenda about your actually becoming the lead agent?
Hard to say. Let's see when we get the letters out.
Yeah, I'm not trying to push Joan. I just hoping.
Yeah.
Well, the town board meeting is the 11th.
That's what I was
Oh,
about to
it's the
say.
11th?
Yeah.
Oh, so it won't,
So it's
nothing,
unlike, yeah, it will
nothing will
not.
happen until the October board meeting. Okay.
I don't know what the schedule, do we have a second meeting in September?
We look.
No, yeah, nothing will happen until October.
Okay, I was,
See what I have.
I know.
I know.
Thanks for checking in. I try my best to keep you up to date, but
You do, you
it's
do.
a process.
And you have,
What's that?
thank you.
Hold
Schedule.
hold on one second.
For courtesy reply before early
You
enough.
gotta wait until 30 days.
Okay, what you guys
So
are,
we have a meeting on the 11th.
there's one meeting going on and Sue wasn't done
I
yet.
don't think we have another meeting.
I'm finished.
Well, I
Thank
mean,
you.
it is
Thank you.
possible that we get responses.
We do a special,
in 30
we might do a
days.
special meeting.
I don't think so.
Whatever, yeah.
No,
I
I'm
guess we're
sure
not.
we won't. I just want to say for the record, lead agency is a very complicated process. We're going into our budget session. I spend an enormous amount of time in September and October on the budget. There's one meeting in September scheduled for a reason, and that's the reason we will not be having a special meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless a board member calls one, and then I have to schedule it. But I won't be able to participate.
What power we have.
Unless a board member requests one, then I do have to schedule it, but I will not be able to put attention to this until October.
Okay, that's
I know
your decision.
I know the applicant is pushing us along, but we can't.
Okay.
Thank you. Donna?
Well, at the risk of, just to follow on from Sue's question, can you, we have Warren's steps that he laid out, but can you give a sort of a sense of the arc of how this would proceed? You know, when you become lead agency, then you undertake that work?
It's all outlined. We have a document outlining the process.
Yeah.
I mean, you're
Is that
asking.
given out to the public?
Yes.
It's on our website.
Yes.
It's on the
Yes,
website.
that's
Okay.
the process. I don't think we can comment any more than a black and white document that lays out the process.
That's the process.
There you go.
Well, sort of the meeting in November was an information meeting.
Yes.
Right.
But not necessarily this information.
We haven't gotten to a public hearing yet.
Right. Okay, that's okay.
No, we haven't done
We
that.
haven't started
But- And there may
anything.
be a public hearing on the seeker before we do a public hearing on the application itself. So that's
Okay.
a decision that the lead agency, whether it be the town board or the planning board, will decide, or DEC if they want to assume. the
I don't think DEC wants it
I don't
either.
think so.
DEC doesn't want this.
I doubt it.
So this will unfold over months?
It will unfold.
Oh,
Yes, the applicant has a funding deadline that I believe he's going to miss because we can't, we're not pushing, I don't know how you guys feel, but I'm not ramming this through.
I think we've been advised that it's very unlikely that we would be able to move fast enough to,
Needed fund,
you know,
will
they'll
have
have
to
to
go
get
until
an
next year.
adjournment and go
Yeah.
the next year with it or something.
It's too important, it's too important a project to rush. Anybody think differently?
I just think the gears move at the pace they move. I mean, I guess it's interesting to me conceptually. I run a small business. I'm held to accountability on dates and schedules and money, all these things. Small town government works slightly different than that in its own gestation rate. I do my best to make it faster, and I think we all do, but it moves at its own pace. And maybe that's a lame answer, but I think it's the reality of it. To some degree.
If the planning board decides that it wants to act as lead agency, which I think we would welcome, and I think would be their responsibility, but they don't have to, then they can probably move it all along at a faster pace because they have, I think, more meetings than we do, and they have less things on their agenda than the town board has. We'll see what happens.
We have budget meetings in September and October.
Yeah.
So we have the same amount of meetings, we're just concentrating on the budget. You guys could do another special meeting, but
I don't think it's
I
possible.
won't attend. Okay, you'll be able to.
You're bluffing.
Oh, you caught me. We are committed to this, and if we're lead agency, we'll do all diligence necessary. We'll take the time it's going to take.
Thank you.
All right.
Anything else, any other questions, comments?
I
Yes,
think we're done.
Thank you for your efforts on the noise ordinance.
we're trying.
Thank you for your
Thank you for your
persistence.
patience. Okay, any other comments, questions, concerns? Make a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
Second?
Okay, second.
Thank you, everybody, we'll see you next month.
38 minutes.